All right. Hi, Pink Power. I am excited here. I'm Jamie Haskin, Emerald Ambassador, and I'm here with Brittany Lanfear, Senior Gold Ambassador, and we are going to talk about momentum today, about building momentum. And momentum is something that we all want. It's something that we would love to all get in. So what are some tangible steps to get us there, and why is now really the perfect time to do that? So, momentum is something that we can take certain steps to try and work our way to get there. And there's a couple different ways. But first and foremost, right now, it's a really good time because come January, this is going to be a time when people are in momentum in general, not just Plexus, not just, our business right here, but in general, people are going to be looking for something new, a fresh start. They're going to be making goals. They're going to be having resolutions. They're going to be anticipating tax returns. So maybe anticipating some extra money coming in and looking for something new. So when that is happening in January, we need to be taking steps right now to prepare for that. So that is why building momentum right now is really good. When people come January are looking for something, they are going to look and remember and think of you because you've already been working to build a relationship. You've already been working to send them information and to follow up with them and make all these connections. So what we do in these next couple months as we work to build this momentum is going to really be pushing this rock up a hill, riding this roller coaster up the hill, so that when we get into January especially, we are ready to go to capitalize on this momentum that's going to be happening. So taking the steps now to really be intentional, to be purposeful, to be productive with our time is really key and important. So there's two ways that we can really work on our momentum. First, we can pour into our teams. We can raise up leaders. We can, equip our team, which is really important. And the second way is to really focus on us, on our activity. And I will tell you right now that is the most important thing. Momentum has to start with you as a leader. It has to begin with you. Your team is going to follow more what you do than what you say. So our activity, our momentum has to start with what we are doing. And when we get that momentum wave, whether we're in, maybe some people are in some of that now, whether you are working to build that, when we get that, we want to ride that as long as possible. We want to not only ride this wave, we want to work hard at keeping it going. So taking the steps to really equip our team, equip ourselves to build this momentum and to continue it on as it comes is what's going to be really important and what's really good to start right now in these couple months leading up to the new year especially. So starting looking at ourselves, looking at our own personal activity, our income producing activity, IPA, is really important. Whether or not we are just starting out as a brand new ambassador, as a silver ambassador, or whether we are maybe the rank of ruby or emerald, this is really important to look at our own activity, to be consistently seeking out a new rock star. Even if you already have a team with some amazing leaders, we can't get comfortable in building on that team and expecting only that team to ride us along in this momentum wave, to only build and to pour into them and not continue to do their own activity ourselves. We need to think of rock stars that are out there that we have not yet found, because there are. So think of this rock star as a gold nugget in your backyard, and it is there in your backyard, then you have to dig it up. And this nugget represents it represents your future goals, and maybe time freedom, maybe financial freedom, maybe being able to go on trips, maybe getting out of debt, or retiring your husband or retiring your wife. Whatever it may represent to you, this gold nugget, that's worth it to find that in your backyard, or maybe there's multiple and it's there. So all you have to do is dig it up. It's not going to just surface on its own and wiggle its way to the top. We have to find that. So we are doing this activity no matter where you are. Even if you have some rock stars out there already, you are still looking and still searching for these gold nuggets, not to get complacent in where we're at. So if we are doing that, we are going to work on our own activity, right? So one thing, a few tangible steps that we can do, we are going to who's done a dream team, I guess is my first point. Identifying what your dream team is a huge step that you can do. So if you don't know what a dream team is, think of people and characteristics. I mean, in this business, we can decide who we work with. That's the amazing thing. So think of the people who you would love to work this business with, people who are going to be rock stars with you, who would do well with it. Maybe it's someone who has a lot of influence in the community. Maybe it's someone who people like to get advice from and they inspire others. Maybe it's someone with a big network and a big social network. Maybe it's someone who is very successful. They have their own business already. And they would be good at something like this because they recognize the potential. They have good work ethic. So don't discount people because, maybe it's potentially someone who intimidates you, those people that you're scared to reach out to. But identify, my first challenge to you would be to identify the characteristics of people that you would want in your dream team. Characteristics of someone who would be an amazing leader, a rock star, a person under you, someone who's maybe excels at something better than you, maybe someone who fills in those gaps that you have. Maybe you aren't a green, or maybe you're not a blue if you know your color personalities, someone who complements that. So identify those characteristics. Maybe they are self-motivated. Maybe they are very much into health and wellness. Maybe they are just very excited in life and aren't afraid to talk to people. Whatever the characteristics may be, write those down. So your first step is write down these characteristics of your dream team members. And then your second step would be to make a list of 10 people, of 20 people, of your dream teamers who might fit some of these criteria. Think of people in your community, people that you're close with already, family, friends, people who maybe you're acquaintances with, but you know they embody these characteristics. So write these dream team names down, and this is going to be people that you can then contact. So the next step would be to second of all, we reach out about our products a lot. So are you reaching out about the business? We need to acknowledge and realize that people need this business just as much as they need the products. So we need to also be reaching out about that. We need to be leading first with the business and not be afraid in doing that. If you are hesitant to do that, maybe examine yourself and why that is. Do you have that belief in this business model? Do you have the belief in, it's the product is one thing, but to have the belief in this network marketing business? I mean, this is a big deal. If you don't have that, talk to your upline, get some of that, do some research on what network marketing is and this wave of the future of what it really is. So that is my second tip right there, is we need to lead with the business model, these people, and especially with your dream team members. Tell them that you think they would be amazing at this business and you are excited. And going into that, one of my points too was, how are we presenting ourselves to people? Are we confident? Are we excited? Are we smiling? That's something that people can read into us on what we're portraying and what we're bringing out there. So make sure that you are, you're embodying that. And if you're not, what's holding you back from that? Is it belief in yourself? Is it belief in, like I mentioned, the business model or anything like that? And that's something you can build. So really focus on if you are presenting yourself that way and how other people see you in that manner. So we're doing our IPA, we're reaching out to new contacts, we're following up because that's really important, and then we're also working on closing the deal. And sometimes it's really important to realize our wording in that. If you are being passive versus direct. So make sure you are going full circle and actually closing the deal on these people and not continuing to go in this roller coaster or this merry-go-round of asking if they have more questions or giving them more information. Sometimes people are just ready for you to help them make that next step. So being passive would be saying something more like, if you're interested, let me know. Or, I sent you that testimony last week. Let me know if you want any more information. Something that's just really passive, as opposed to being more direct in your wording. Don't be afraid to ask for that close. Don't be afraid to, hey, I gave you that information. You sound like you're really excited. Let's, is there a time this week that you can meet up? Let's get you started. And just straight up ask for that close. Are you ready to join tonight? Let's hop on the phone and talk about what we're going to do next. But don't be afraid to completely come full circle and ask for that close and be direct with what you are saying. And then let me see here. So are we talking to people? We talk to people on Facebook very easily. So a fourth thing that I would like to challenge you guys in is to be intentional when you're going out and about in public. So this is still working on you, your own activity. And are you talking to people in person when you go out? When you go to the store, when you go to your kid's school, whatever it may be, make that challenge to yourself every time you go out and about to talk to 2 new people about the business. And just make that a mindset when you go out. If you have that mindset in your head and it's maybe, and some people it might be more natural for others, but if you're out and about and also you're like, oh, I should talk to someone, that might be a little more intimidating than if you leave the house knowing that you are going to talk to 2 people no matter what. And you make that decision, you do it, and it becomes a habit. And then next time you go, you might not have to necessarily even think about it that hard. It's going to be coming natural to you. So, but make that a goal for yourself if that is not something that comes naturally to you. Adding new friends on Facebook, joining a Facebook group. These are all new ways to reach out to new networks instead of just your own Facebook friends that you have as a resource there. Opportunity meetings are a great way to create momentum and to get a whole new network of people. Doing a booth at an expo. So partner with someone. If you have a team member in the area, if you have a sideline in the area, anybody, partner if you can with someone and host your own. So those are also good ways to do that. And finally, within yourself, think about in terms of, we talk about branding a lot lately, and we had a call last week on it that talked more about that. It was really good. So be intentional about branding yourself, about what you're posting, if you're being personal, and follow people who do that well, people who brand themselves. Anybody, if you want to put in the chat right now, name some people that you think really brand themselves well that you follow on social media. There's Emily Gibson is one who's really good. Bridget Ryan. If anybody else has some names, put their names in there. And those are people really like to be intentional about looking at their Facebook and seeing what they do. And you can use their ideas and put their use maybe some of their words and tweak it to be your own and put your own picture, but kind of get that as an idea for you, so you don't have to completely think of everything on your own. We can still follow and get ideas and inspiration from people who already kind of do that well. So that's a tip I have for you as well. So make sure you leave here, and actually, if you haven't already, we got some good ideas going in here in the chat. Follow these people, go to their Facebook, click the follow, maybe write their names down so if it doesn't show up in your newsfeed that you know later to go to their page specifically to look. You can create a friends feed. You can create different topics of friends feed. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about here. So there's a video on the team page about this too. So if you have different feeds of your friends list, you can actually make one and do it about, I just did this and I called it, what did I call it? Shining Jewels, I think I called it, but specifically with the intention of people who brand themselves well. So I can click on that news feed then of just these people who brand themselves well in this, and I can just see their posts. So that's something you can do, easily too, so you can just quickly look. So you have yourself, you're building momentum off yourself first. You're doing your IPA first in the day. You're focusing on that, and that is going to be intentional. And then your second thing is going to be to build and to pour into your team. So after you're getting your IPA done for the day, you also want to balance that with getting time in for your team. You're going to build relationships in your team. That is going to be huge. You want to create a team culture, a sense of community and unity in your team, because it's bigger than just any one of us. This is something we are doing together. This is something that we're sharing common goals with people. So take the time to acknowledge the strengths in your team members. If they do something amazing, tell them, acknowledge it, show them, give them compliments. I mean, words of affirmation to your team and building that belief in your team members goes a long way. That's huge. And they need to eventually have that in themselves and ingrain that in themselves, but that can first come from you. And you need to build that culture and that sense of community within your team. So having goals is a big one. So if you don't already, do coaching calls, have goals with your team members. Each person can make 2 goals a month. They can have so 2 different goal ideas could be a must-have goal, a goal that's going to happen no matter what. And that's just a goal that they're going to meet. So you make that goal at the beginning of the month, they're for sure going to make that goal. And then the second goal could be a big head goal, a big, hairy, audacious goal. So this is going to be a goal that is going to stretch them. It's going to be a little outside of their comfort zone. It's going to be a little bit scary, because that's where we grow, is when it's outside of our comfort zone and when we do things that are a little bit maybe outside of our reach. So making those goals is also really, really important. So make a must-have goal, make a big head goal. And that is going to be what you do every month with your team members. Talk to them, hold them accountable, have those coaching calls weekly or bi-weekly, and make sure you're staying in touch and helping them make those goals and stick to them. So you can't want it more for them than they want it for themselves. So make the discernment of where you're going to spend your time, kind of that 80-20 rule. 80% of your time should be with the 20% of your people who are running with us and who want this. So discern your time and pour into your team of people who are ready to go with us, and you find that balance. So I wanted to bring Brittany in on this because she is doing an awesome job right now with really being intentional with her time and intentional in building momentum specifically right now. She's working on that with herself in her own activity, and she's pouring into her team and doing very specific things with her team as well. So I am going to hand this over to her so she can share how she, kind of things that she's doing, how she's balancing that. And yeah, Brittany, I'm going to let you take over.
Thanks. Yes, that was all awesome advice and actions that we can take. I think, as I have tried to kind of be a student of the leaders of this business and how they have found momentum, I just appreciate concrete things, that we can do. So just tell me what to do is kind of, is always my attitude. And so these steps that you can take are not just kind of, it seems when you're starting out in the business that momentum is kind of this mysterious thing that you have to kind of like fall into at some point, like it's just going to happen. But it's really not the case. Momentum is just the product of action and intentionality together, and putting that together over a period of time. And if you'll do that, it will eventually turn into momentum. And of course, none of our path through the business is exactly the same, or our pace is exactly the same, but that's all it is it's just being intentional and actually doing it. And eventually that is going to lead you to momentum. My pathway through this business, just because I think it's something that a lot of people can identify with on one level or another. I started out in this business because I was passionate about these products. And I loved the products. I knew they were changing people's lives. They changed mine. They changed my husband's, my mom, my sisters, and a couple other people I told about them. So I was like, I knew that the products worked. And I also knew that it was kind of a gold mine because of that, because there were these amazing products. But I really started out and just kind of went to town, and it was kind of just a power recruiter. And I think I recruited about 40 level ones in my first 6 months. But I got to that point and looked around, and I didn't have anyone else doing that with me. And so I kind of found myself in this position. And when I showed up at convention, I kind of was having, a little bit of a, self-reflection time of, okay, I've gotten here with all of these people that I've recruited, but none of them are running beside me. And, one of my favorite quotes to do with this business is just that network marketing without duplication is just another job. And I needed another job. Like I needed, I don't know what, but I have a very full plate, both in my career and at home. And I knew that if I was really going to do this business, I had to find the keys to inviting people on this journey with me, getting them excited to run with me. And so that was kind of where I was at convention. It was kind of like, okay, I need to kind of step back, strip this down and retool to understand why don't I have people running with me? And when it came down to what it was for me is that I was not projecting passion and excitement for this business. I clearly was doing it for the products, and that's why I had been able to sign so many people up. But obviously I was not transferring the vision of what was possible in this business to them, nor my excitement. And one of the things that I'll tell my team now when I'm training them is, when we talk to someone about the products, I'll tell them, when we're first putting ourselves out there, it feels scary. But by us being vulnerable and putting ourselves out there, we give other people permission to tell us what they're struggling with. So by putting yourself out there and saying, I couldn't lose the baby weight, or I was dealing with stomach issues all the time, or, whatever it was, you give them the permission to be vulnerable with you and say, yes, I'm really struggling with this. And it might be the same thing. It might be something different. But all you've done is just taken down a barrier that we all live our whole lives with, of trying to keep up appearances and not talking about real life and things that are hard. You've stripped down that barrier so that they can come to you. Well, with the business, it's similar, is that if you are not excited about the business, you are not giving people permission to tell you how much they want or need it. And so, if someone's struggling with finances, guys, and they're swamped in credit card debt, or they can't afford the activities that their kids want to do, and they're having to make hard decisions, that's not an easy thing for people to speak up about. That's not an easy thing for people to say, like, yeah, we're hurting, or even, yeah, like, I don't like my job, or, just different things like that. By you getting out there and saying, this is why I'm excited about the business, this is why it's amazing, this is why it's for everyone, you're taking down another barrier that makes people self-conscious, and giving them permission to say, yes, I need that. I mean, we're stuck, or we're drowning in this or that. Like, give them that freedom to come to you and be that person that they can feel confident and say, she will get this. She will help me figure out how to do this. And so that's what I would just what I encourage my team with, and what I would encourage you with is that you hold the keys to whether or not people are going to feel excited and safe coming to you and saying, show me how to do this. And so that was kind of my aha at convention. And I have gone from having basically no people working the business at convention. I had a handful of silvers, but none of them really actively working the business, to now having about 14 people on my team who are working the business at one speed or another. And so, how have I kind of done that? Well, some of it was just a shift in attitude, exactly what I just talked about. But I've also just gotten very intentional and strategic about my activity. Like I said, I'm busy, and I just had my third baby in September. So I just have had a ton going on, and I can't do this business if I don't stay organized and I'm not intentional about what I'm doing. So I started organizing my activity each week around 4 key areas. And that's recruiting. So everything that Jamie just talked about with our IPA and all of that. And I would make myself do that first. So everything around my recruiting. And then I focus stuff around my team management, following up with my team, following up with my new ambassadors that are in their first 60 days on the products, following up with white lines, checking my back office stuff, so doing my team management, working on my leadership, how much I'm reaching out and encouraging my team, how much I'm, doing activities and challenges and building team culture for my team. I focus activity around that every day, and then also around personal growth. So reading different materials, and I think I've watched every single video there is on YouTube about momentum and growth and getting unstuck and all of those kind of things. And so I've just gotten intentional. I plan that out at the beginning of every week. So I plan out exactly who I'm going to message each day, whether that's, in my recruiting, on my team, whatever it is. I plan that out each day. I plan out what I'm going to do. And that way it's fairly easy for me to do that efficiently. And, there was admittedly a time in the late summer, I was just about to have my baby. I was swamped at work. And I started backing off of some of the recruiting stuff, and I saw momentum slow. And so that really is the key to everything. Just like Jamie said, if you back off of your recruiting, it's ultimately going to just, I don't know why it has those powers to just stop everything in its tracks, but you hear every jewel say it, and it's true. So I try to focus my activity around getting that recruiting done first, and then following up with everything else. And that's just another thing, is that if you really want momentum, you're not just going to get it through 3-2-1. Like 3-2-1's amazing, but it's not going to come just from that. You've got to do the other things to build a well-rounded team that is excited and has, a good team culture around it. I also got really intentional about relationship building. That is something that comes really natural to a lot of people. And it's not that I'm not a people person, I'm just a green. So it's not the most natural thing for me to go around commenting on everyone's posts and reaching out to people and stuff like that. So I got very intentional about that. And like Jamie said, I've gotten intentional about reaching out to people and telling them that I think that they would be great at the business. And my mindset with that is just that people who make other people feel good are powerful people. People who have the potential to make other people's day a little bit better hold a lot of power. So even if someone tells you no, or they don't respond the first few times that you tell them this, you are ultimately just speaking positive things into their life. And maybe they're like, oh, I don't want that, but yeah, that makes me feel kind of good that she thinks I'd be great at it. The more you position yourself as one of those kind of people, the more powerful you will be and the more influential you will be over your network. And so if you think I don't have a lot of influence, then go out and just make 50 people a day feel good. Tell them their selfie looks pretty. Tell them their kids are adorable. Tell them they're killing it at whatever they're doing. And if you will do that, you will become an influencer, because people are attracted to people that make other people feel good. And so I got real intentional about building those kind of relationships and being that kind of person. When they talk about branding, be attractive, be someone people are attracted to, be someone that makes people feel good, and they will ultimately be attracted to you. That's really all it comes down to. And, along the lines with branding, I just took the attitude that I was going to act like a diamond until I was a diamond. So whether that was in what I was posting or videos I was doing or anything like that, I was just going to do it with the authority of someone who knew what they were talking about. And so that I think is something that will ultimately just gives people the confidence, again, that they can come to you and be vulnerable, because you've been willing to be vulnerable and put yourself out there. So Jamie, was there anything else you wanted me to talk about? Those were kind of my notes, but anything else you wanted to talk about that I've been doing?
I think that's good. I mean, I think you've really been pouring into your team a lot lately and being really intentional with kind of creating a culture in a community. I don't know if you want to speak about kind of the culture that you've been really working with your team right now, because I think you've been doing really good with that as well.
Yeah. One of the videos that I watched early fall was Abby Kappa's video on momentum that we have in the team pages. And it's just a really great one. And she talks about just rallying your team around each other. Our three-way chats are so amazing. And they're such a cornerstone of keeping people engaged and getting them successful, both with the products and the business. But a lot of times people need to be connected to, a little bit of a broader community, but intimate enough that they feel safe and they feel, they can feel energy. And so I started, I took my team members that I knew were really excited about the business and really wanted to push, and put them, all in a small chat. And then I saw, that we had some other people coming up that were, kind of interested in getting into the business and wanted to know more. And we created kind of a small group challenge around trying to help people get to silver this month, kind of put some material together, day by day of like how to fill their toolbox with the stuff that they need to be successful in this business. So I've tried to be intentional about connecting people on my team. Of course, we've got this huge, big team, which is amazing, but allowing them to feel the energy in a smaller setting of people who are kind of running at the pace that they are and in similarly situated positions. because then they can, they can kind of leverage off of each other's activity and energy.
Yes, really, really good. And yeah, I think it's been going awesome and stuff too. So great. I love everything you had to say. I think it gave tangible specifics to people and examples. And I love everything about that. There's so many facets to this momentum, but to be able to encompass and balance all that together. And I think the big thing is being productive and intentional with your activity. And that's what, I mean, Brittany is working full-time. She owns her own accounting firm. She puts in oftentimes more than 40 hours a week sometimes with that. And then she has kids at home. So it kind of forces you to be intentional, So, and I think we all, whether or not everyone has their own different ways of being busy. Everyone's busy looks different. So, I mean, I know from my experience, if, you write down your goals, if you write down your to-do lists for the week or the day, checking things off, that's going to be, help you be more intentional and productive. So sticking with something. So take some of these things and stick with what you're doing these next few months, especially, and be intentional with your work and with your team and pouring into them. So great. Thank you, Brittany. Thank you, guys. I think we are good for tonight. So I hope you all have a great night. I'm going to stop recording here. There we go.